Okay, great. So today's class, let's finish setting this thing up. Today's class is going to be focused on neck and jaw and shoulder, this whole area. Releasing tension. It's going to be like a slower class with a little bit of self massage. I just learned all these new moves from this teacher named Lydia Zamorano. I think that's how you say her name. And she does a lot of somatic type yoga. So I thought it was pretty cool. So we'll see how you think about it. But for the first part, you can do it standing, you could sit in a chair, you could even like sit on the floor and lean back against the wall or sit up on something. So because we're just going to be kind of like staying in one position and working into the neck. So yeah, just get comfortable in either your standing or your seat or your chair. And then we'll get started. I've got my little notes here. Okay. Alrighty. So to begin, as always, let's start by checking in with the body. So whatever position you're in, just start to notice how the body is doing at this moment. Maybe taking some deep breaths. You could close your eyes or you could gaze in front of you softly. And let's start to notice the top of our head. See if you can feel the top of your head in space. And then we'll bring our awareness. You can imagine like an egg cracks on your head, starts to spill down. Imagine you can bring your awareness. You used to do that to me, Mom. Bringing your awareness all down your head, coming into the back of your skull, your temples, ears, forehead, eyebrows, space between the eyebrows, eyes. Imagine you can feel your eyes resting back in their sockets, down to the cheeks, all the way down the jawline, to the nose and the lips. Imagine the back of your neck, it's a little bit longer. Maybe your chin tucks just slightly. So your shoulders heavy. If you want, you can drop your arms and just let them hang. Feel space in the sides of your neck, front of your neck, down to your collarbones, chest. Then we can bring our awareness all the way down the shoulders, down towards the elbows, and then finally to the fingertips. Feeling everything heavy below the neck, and then imagining the neck and above is light and extending and lengthening up without straining. Ah, nice. We'll start from this place. And we'll do a little bit of a like a test and we'll do it again at the end. When I took this class, I was very impressed at the difference. So we'll see if we can feel a difference. So what we'll do is curl our arms around our knees or place them on top and then tuck your chin. So if you're sitting in a chair, you can just do the chin tucking part and just notice how that feels in the back of your neck. And then we'll lift our head and start to look up, really feeling like we're extending the neck, and maybe even start to look back, stretching the front of the neck. And if you can, with your eyes, find a place, find the farthest place that you can look behind you. So maybe it's the ceiling, maybe it's the wall behind you, depending on where you're sitting, but see if you can remember that place. And then at the end of the class, we'll check and see if the place has changed. Okay, and then coming back to center with the head, maybe doing a little bit of a extension, pulling the knees in, raising the head up, gauging the back of the shoulder blades. Nice. Okay. All right. So from there, you can take your forearms and bring them together. So palms are facing each other. Then we're going to start to raise them up. See if you can raise the elbows up without arching your back, just raising the arms up. And then we'll start to open the elbows up. Bring the palms towards the back of the head. And then whenever you feel like you can't bring your hands back anymore, you can open up the hands and start to pull them apart and then bring your arms down so then the shoulder blades come down the back. Nice. And then we'll come back into the center. So do the same thing. And it's okay if your elbows don't touch. We're just trying to press towards each other. Start to raise it up. And when you feel like you're stuck there, you can start to open up the arms, maybe bring your arms behind your head as much as you can. Then start to open the hands up and pull them apart, and then bringing the elbows down again. Great. So we'll do that a few more times in your own time. Being aware of your breath as you move. Open up and back down. Nice. Okay, let's let the arms drop. We're going to move into shoulder blade circles and we're going to make them really big and exaggerated. So feel your shoulders and your arms come forward so you can feel that the backs of your shoulder blades are spreading out around your back. And then bring your shoulders up to your ears and then back, shoulders blades back and down again. So then we bring them forward, up, backwards, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then feel them coming down your back again. We'll do that a few times. Really big. And we're trying to picture our shoulder blades moving. And then we can change directions. Okay, nice. I'll let that go. From there, let's clasp our hands together, interlacing the fingers, and try to lock in so that you can pull your elbows apart while keeping your fingers interlaced. So you're creating a little bit of tension there. You can feel it in between your shoulder blades already. And then from there, we're gonna move the arms as much as we can up. And then whenever you've come to the place that's the farthest you can go without arching, you can hold there and continue to pull the elbows apart. If you want, you can add a little shrug of the shoulders. So shrugging the shoulders up, down, up, down. And then find a place that feels comfortable, maybe right in the middle. And then we'll bring the arms down again. Ugh, shake it out. Okay, let's bring the fingers together again. And this time we'll do a little wrist movement here. So we'll see how I'm bringing one wrist forward, pulling the other wrist back. So this is nice. Tend to neglect the wrist, so it's good to get some movement there. Okay, and then again, do a little bit of a pull apart, and then we'll bring the arms up again as much as is comfortable for you. And then we'll continue that little pull apart and maybe do a circle, like you're drawing a little halo of your angelic head. And then you can change directions. And if putting your hands over your head is not working right now, you can do the same thing, circling in front of you or even down here. So wherever you are, doing little circles. Nice. And then we'll bring it back down again in front of you. Do one last little pull, pull, pull apart. Nice. And then we'll drop it down. Okay. What's next? These are all the new movements that I learned today. Okay. So then we're going to bring our arms out. Well, I guess this next one is not new, but still. We're going to start to rotate. Feeling so at first your thumb is in front of you and then start to rotate. And then maybe your thumb comes behind you. And maybe your hands even turn a little bit, or maybe not. They just face up. And then we'll go the other way, all the way internally rotated. And then again, externally rotated. If your arms start to get tired, you can bring them down or take a little break and then come back into it. Nice. And then we'll take our hands into fists. You can put your thumb inside your hands, keeping them out or down and circling the wrists around. And just notice the sensations in your wrists here. Ooh, your arms might be getting fatigued. And then we'll do the same thing with open palms. But anytime if you need to lower down, and we want to see if we can keep the arms straight as much as we can. And then from there, you can start to rotate the elbows. Big circles. Think of this as like egg beaters. One direction, the other direction. My shoulders are burning. They're burning. Nice. And then we'll lower that back down. Woohoo! Notice all the sensations that you might be feeling in your shoulders. Nice. Okay. If you're sitting cross-legged or in a certain position, you could change your position that you're sitting, or you could change the cross of your legs if you want. Okay. Now we're going to move into the jaw. I always find this really satisfying. So we'll start by bringing the right ear to the right shoulder. So I'm doing the opposite of you, or you're doing the opposite of me. And then to intensify, you can bring your left hand and kind of with your fingertips, place them on the side next to you. Okay, so that's already probably a stretch. And then from there, we can move our chin down towards that right shoulder. And so you might be feeling a nice stretch on the back of your neck, back of the shoulder. And then from there, if you want, you can start to move the chin up and away from that shoulder, like you're trying to move the jaw up and away from that shoulder. And maybe even feeling like you're trying to move this lower part of the jaw, like up and around. Gets a bit of a different stretch in this area. And you can just kind of move all around, bringing your chin down, bringing your chin and jaw up, maybe circling up so you feel the front side of your jaw and neck here, reaching up. Nice. And then we'll come out of that and change sides. Bringing the other hand to the other side if you want, and then dropping the left ear to the left shoulder. Right hand can come out to the side. And then same options if you want. You can start to bring the chin down towards the shoulder. And then we can start to bring the chin jaw up and away from the shoulder. Maybe even kind of as if you're like curling your jaw up and around. And you can come back down. Just gonna move into those sticky spots. Okay, and then we'll come back to center. Nice. And from there, we'll do these little nose circles. So imagine you're drawing a circle around with your nose. So this is nice and gentle. You can follow the circle with your eyes if you want, or you can close them both directions. Okay, great. All right, we're going to do another one that's interesting. I'm bringing the right ear to the right shoulder again. You can move your left hand out to the side. And now we're going to do a little self massage. So you can take your right arm, and the invitation is to bring it around to the left side and kind of getting right underneath here. So you're reaching around with your four fingers and maybe getting into that kind of tender area underneath your jawline here. I'm trying to show you. I'm just like massaging in this downward motion, but you can do whatever feels good. It's a little bit of a pressure to get a release. You might notice it's very tender there. Okay, and then we'll lower that arm back down and we'll try the other side. Notice how that feels. So dropping the left ear to the left shoulder, you can bring your right arm out to the right, and then left arm, you can bring all the way over and underneath the jaw, like right next to your ear, and do a little massage there, or just push. Okay, and as you're ready, we'll let that one go. We'll do another little movement with our nose. This time, let's draw a figure eight with the nose. And again, you can follow with your eye movements, or you could close your eyes and just feel gentle figure eight movement, like you're drawing it with your nose, changing directions as you feel ready. Nice. Okay. Great, everybody. From there, we're going to come on to hands and knees. So getting out of this seated or standing position, making sure you're properly cushioned underneath as much as you need. And we'll start by extending one leg out behind you and stretching the back of the leg. And then we'll switch sides, stretching the other leg behind you. Okay. Then we're going to continue working into the wrists. So we'll place the hands down and press the floor away. And then from there, do little circles. So as small or as big feels appropriate. And if you want less pressure on your wrists, then you'd want to come more back on your um, sitting back on your heels. And then if it feels appropriate, you can try moving the hands out to the side. So now I'm like this and continuing those circles. And maybe you could try one hand facing towards your knees, or you could try both. And this one tends to be a lot more pressure. So if you want to move your fingertips back towards your knees, that will release some of the pressure. And we can try to get our elbows straight, but it's okay if they're not. Circling around. Okay, and then finally, we can try to bring the backs of the palms onto the ground with the fingertips facing each other. So, like this. And same thing, we can see if we can try to get our elbows straight inside of the elbows pointing forward. That may or may not happen. And the closer you bring your hands back to your knees, the less pressure there will be. So we can just find the spot that's appropriate for us. Maybe doing just small circles here. Okay, let's go ahead and get off of our wrists and shake, 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 shake it out. We'll do one more little wrist stretch, bringing the hand out in front of you, like you're saying, stop. And then we'll bring the other hand and pull the fingers back. And as you pull the fingers back, see if you can extend your thumb out to the side. Keep that thumb extended. Nice. And then we'll do the other side. So pulling fingers back and seeing if we can keep our thumb extended. Beautiful. Okay. One more shake it out. Shake, shake, shake it out. And then we'll come back on the hands and knees to do those shoulder blade circles like we were doing in the beginning of the class, starting with letting the chest drop down, feeling the shoulder blades squeeze together. And then we'll let the shoulder blades come down the back. So we'll move them down the back, depression of the shoulder blades. Then we'll push into the hands, protraction. And then we'll elevate, we'll lift the shoulder blades up towards the head. And then retraction of the shoulder blades again, letting the chest come down. And we'll continue that. It kind of starts off like a box. Shoulder blades move down the back, then we push into the hands, shoulder blades spread apart, move the shoulder blades up towards the ears, and then let the chest sink down again. And eventually, as this becomes more comfortable, it can become a little bit smoother. And you might feel like a bunch of crunching and crackling. I have a lot of that in my left shoulder, I think, due to maybe scar tissue. If you want to change direction of the circles, you're welcome to give that a try. And we're seeing if we can isolate the movement into the shoulders. Your back may want to move around, but see if we can maybe keep it more still. Great. Okay. Let's pause that, and then we'll bring the left arm up to the left and up to the sky. And then we'll thread it through and thread the needle, thread it through the right armpit and lower it down. This would be a good opportunity if you have a block or a pillow to grab that. So you have something to put under your head. And so the left hand is extending out to the right. And then you can take your right hand and tent your fingers and press into those tented fingers to try to continue to twist the upper back. This one's not as passive as maybe ones we've done in the past because we're trying to push into those right fingertips and twist. Great. Okay, let's come on out of that. And then we'll do the other side. So right arm opens up out to the right, and then we thread it through the left armpit. And then the back of the shoulder, or at least the back of the right arm, is on the ground. You can have your head on a pillow or a block. And then your left arm, you'll tent your fingertips and really press into those fingertips, make you twist a little bit more. Relax the jaw. All right. As you're ready, we'll come on out of that. And then we're going to move on to our backs. If you have a blanket, like a blanket that you can fold up, or even a towel or a pillow to put under your head, that might be nice because we're going to lie down on our backs. Mm. Okay, great. Your legs can be in whatever position is comfortable. And then from here, we're going to bring the arms out into a cactus shape. And so see if when you look left to right, if your upper arms are about perpendicular to your shoulders. And then our fingertips are pointing up to the sky. Now notice if the backs of your ribs and your shoulder blades are kind of popping off. If that's the case, do a big exhale through pursed lips like you're trying to blow out a candle and see if that allows the back of the body to sink down onto the ground. So you inhale and then go. And see if you notice the backs of your ribs maybe sink down a little bit further. Okay, so we want to keep the backs of the shoulder blades, backs of the ribs down as much as we can. And then we'll start to move the backs of the forearms up and not up, down towards the ground. So you're trying to keep backs of the shoulder blades glued down as you rotate. And so we're just moving the arms in one direction and then in the other direction. So your arms are kind of at this 90-degree angle. And we're rotating at the shoulder girdle. And the whole time we rotate, we want to see if we can keep the backs of the arms and the shoulder blades down. And probably the arms, the fingertips are not touching the ground. If they were, that would probably be some hypermobility, and we might not want to go that far. Just continue rotating your arms. And each time you try to bring the backs of your hands towards the ground and then the fronts of your hands towards the ground the other direction. Notice if after doing this for some time, if it starts to feel like they're getting closer to the ground. And maybe when the backs of the hands are coming towards the ground, you find the end range and kind of press a little bit at that end range. And see if you can press your arms closer to the ground in both directions. So you find the end range and kind of just maybe pulse a little bit downwards. Okay, now I'll invite you to rotate in opposite directions. So one arm goes up, the other arm goes down. A cross body, cross brain move. Nice. And then when you're ready, you can just lay your arms out to the side if you have space, or they could be in a cactus, and just feel every part of your body that's on the ground. Notice if the backs of your shoulders feel a little bit heavier towards the ground, a little bit closer to the ground. Okay, from here, we're going to grab either the forearms or the elbows. So something like this. And then we're going to shift. So you're going to pull your arms to the right, and then you're going to pull your arms to the left, but as you're on the ground. So pulling like you're kind of like you're crossing your arms, but you're holding onto your elbows or your forearms. And it's this pulling motion to the right, a little bit of an upper back twist, and then to the left. And then if you want, you could turn your head to the right as you move your elbows to the left. And then when your elbows come to the right, you can turn your head to the left, even maybe hooking your chin on top of your shoulder, one side, and then the other side. You can do one more on each side, and then we'll relax there. And again, bring your arms out to a T position and noticing if your upper back and your shoulders maybe feel heavier on the ground. Okay. For this next part, I forgot to ask you to bring a block if you have one. If you have a thin one like this, like a thin foam block, it might be helpful to have two. Um, Sorry, I should have said this at the beginning of the class. So if you do have that, that will be awesome for this next one. If you don't have that, I can show you a way to do it without. It's like a jaw release. Okay, so hopefully you have blocks. If not, I'll show you the other version. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to find there's this like place right in between your ear and your jaw. It's like this pressure point sort of here. Mine's quite tender. Maybe yours is too. But what we're gonna try to do is get the corner of the block in that space. So you'll have to come down. And so if I'm coming down on my left side, I've got my left arm out. And I'm trying to wedge that corner of the block into that space. So it might work on the front like this, or it might work sort of back like this. You're trying to see if you can get it into that corner, either here or here, or you could even take your block onto its medium height. And go like that. If you don't have a block, you can lay your head down and bring your right arm, your top arm, and just massage and press into that area. So it's that area right underneath your ear, right in between your ear and your jaw. So that's an option. Or you can try to find, if you do get the corner in there, it can feel quite like a quite a nice relief. Whichever position you're in, let's open the jaw slowly and then close it back again. And open it slowly and close it again. More time opening it and closing again. Nice. Okay. We're going to move to the other side. So all you've got to do is flip around. I'm going to change position so I can see you. And then from here, trying to find the corner of the block and seeing if we can get it. There we go. Into the corner of the jaw. Or again, you can have your head on something like a pillow, and you can bring your top arm and bring your fingers and push into that pressure point. And then again, if you want, you can open up your mouth very slowly and then close it again. When you're ready, you can release the pressure points on the jaw. And then we'll move those blocks aside and place our head back on the pillow. And then we've spent so much time on the upper body. Let's give the lower body a little bit of love. So bringing the right ankle, crossing it over onto the left upper thigh into figure four. And so we want to try to move the right knee away from the body. And then from there, you can stay there if you want. You can bring your legs in. You could grab behind the thigh, or sometimes I just like to grab my right shin, the one that's crossed, and just rock around. If you do grab your legs and your whole lower back lifts off the ground, I would suggest just lowering it, seeing if you can keep your tailbone anchored down rather than creating a big curve in your spine. So I'm just circling around. You can do any movements that make sense to you. And then when you're ready, we can lower that back down and in the middle do some windshield wipers left to right with the knees. Feeling the pelvis twist to one side and then the other side. And then when you're ready, we can do the other side. So lifting your other ankle onto the thigh, pressing that bent knee away from the body. And then you can absolutely stay just right here. Or there's the option to lift your foot off the ground and then hold onto your legs, either the left one or the right one, and either hold or maybe rock around. Finding whatever movements feel restorative and relaxing. Okay, let's lower that back down. We're going to do one more move for your neck. This is one of the ones I learned. I found it really fascinating. So let's give it a try. So we're going to try to lift our head off the pillow, but in a particular way. So we're going to try to really strengthen the deeper muscles in the neck. And so the way we'll do this is tuck the chin, so creating like more of a double chin. And as you do that, you'll feel the back of your neck perhaps lengthen. And then as you're doing that, seeing if you can relax the back of your shoulders to the ground. That's the tricky bit. And then we'll keep all that and start to think about lifting your head off the pillow. So lifting, and you'll feel that maybe pretty intense engagement in the front of the neck. And then maybe you lift just an inch off the pillow. Oh, that's so challenging. The whole while keeping the shoulders relaxed onto the ground. Continue to keep the back of the neck long as you lift up, like you're trying to lift your head up towards the ceiling, and then relax all the way back down. Wow. And then you can tilt your head left and right, looking over to the left and looking over to the right. Okay. Do that one more time, if it felt okay. So we create that double chin, really feeling the backs of the ribs and shoulders are heavy and relaxed down towards the ground. I find that challenging. Back the neck long, and then we'll start to think about lifting the head up. And maybe we don't lift, we just think about lifting. Or maybe we lift, or maybe just a few centimeters off the ground. And then lowering everything back down. Ooh. And again, if you want, you can look left and look right. Okay. Last movement is going to be a pelvic tilt. So let's press the tailbone down to the ground. Feel your lower back lift. And then we'll flatten the low back on the ground. Feel the tailbone get light. And back and forth, pressing the tailbone down. Back of the low back lift. And opposite. And you can keep them really slow. Or what can also be kind of nice is like turning it into a bit of a bounce. So in this way, you're using your feet a little bit more. So you're kind of like pushing into your feet and you're letting your body just kind of bounce up and down. And this might feel good with a pillow or it might feel good without a pillow. But see if you can feel your whole body reverberating up and down, like this gentle rocking sensation you're creating. Arms can be anywhere that's comfortable. And then we'll start to let the rocking get slower and slower and smaller and smaller until finally the rocking is no more. Beautiful. From here, we're in a good position to move into Shavasana. Since it's morning where some of you are, if you'd rather take like a seated meditation, that's also an option. But whatever you do, we're going to take a few moments, either lying down or seated. As you breathe, feel yourself get heavier. Okay, everybody, we're going to start to bring our awareness back into the body. And if you're lying down, start to do some moves and stretches to wake back up again. And then eventually coming up into a seat so we can do that movement we started the class with and see what we notice. So once you find your comfortable seat, let's bring the feet out in front of us like we did before. See if we can bring the elbows on the knees. And then starting off with tilting the head down and noticing how the back of your neck feels. And then starting to lift the head and start to look up and maybe back and just notice if you can see, maybe you can look a little bit farther. Maybe you feel a little bit more elongated. And then we'll come back down to center and finishing up here, taking some time to uh, thank yourself for moving today gently and with care and ease. And feeling gratitude for the ancient practice of yoga coming from India that we get to benefit from to this day. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll stop the recording now.